Right. So this is dedicated to our guts in midlife. And I'm with the wonderful Charlotte Hunter, who's our resident nutritionist, whilst the lovely Dr. Martins is on maternity leave. And Charlotte, I wanted to start by asking you a little bit about why our guts become unbalanced in midlife. Can you talk to me a little bit about the science behind it?
I think that there are probably three broad reasons, and then I think you could probably break down each one, but I'll give you a general overview. So, firstly, when our estrogen declines, it affects our digestion, it affects our gut lining, so the
Mm,
cells that line the gut, the tight junctions, and the function, the integrity, and how that all works. But also the diversity of our microbiome changes as well as a result of falling estrogen. But also, this coincides with aging, and nobody likes to talk about aging. But midlife is a sign of aging, and I feel like I have to whisper. So, yes, it is about aging, but also in younger women who go through menopause a little bit earlier, we
mm,
see similar changes or symptoms that they report. And there are all kinds of clinical studies out there on the changes we see in the microbiomes of different species, that they have this significant shift around that time. So we can make the assumption that we may see similar changes happening in our own guts. Secondly, stress. We all know stress affects the gut.
mm.
It peaks massively in midlife. Certainly, conversations we have about what
Yes.
happens in your life and how that can affect you. So it can mess up your cortisol, your stress hormone. It can slow digestion and again disrupt that delicate balance in your microbiome. And we have quite significant lifestyle shifts as well
Mm.
associated with menopause. So our sleep isn't as good. We might not move around as much. We're eating on the run. We're dealing with young children, grown-up children, everything in between, elderly parents, social lives, work, financial pressures, and all of that. And I suppose the lifestyle bit overlaps with stroke quite a lot as well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But
That's really
I
interesting.
But I think one important thing to point out, though, is that we can't just blame menopause for our digestion changing. There are so many other plates spinning at the same time.
No, I think that's a really good point. And I know also when talking to medical doctors, they always remind me, and I think that's your point really around aging, is that menopause is an inflammatory state. That's how medical practitioners see it. And obviously there's this term inflam-aging, which is a bit of a mouthful, but is that recognition between the direct correlation between getting older and inflammation in our body? So I guess that's the point you're making about aging being
Yeah.
part of this discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. And you talked a little bit there about that gut microbiota piece and that delicate balance. I know also that our stomach's ability to produce acid, to actually break stuff down, is obviously impacted as part of that. Is that again due to the sex hormone shifts? What is it that causes that and means that we sometimes find it harder to get nutritional goodness from our food?
Yeah. And you know what? I think stomach acid is a bit of a mystery in terms of the symptoms and the different interpretations, where we've got conventional interpretations, then we have more naturopathic, and then you've got the overlap between the two. But I think largely speaking, the stomach acid does tend to drop in midlife. And there's that link with aging, inflammaging, as you said. And at the same time, we've got our estrogen declining. We often think of symptoms like reflux, heartburn, indigestion, bloating as being connected to too much acid. So we're all popping antacid in the hope that it's going to help us. But for many people, it's the complete opposite. So if you think about how acid in the stomach works, it helps to break down some of our food. So it's working on those proteins in the stomach. So if you don't have enough stomach acid, what will happen is that food hangs around longer, it's not broken down as efficiently, and it's just sitting in your stomach for a period of time, which means that it can start, I suppose, pushing things back. And it doesn't sound very technical, does it? But triggering symptoms like heartburn and bloating. And
Mm.
also, I think this is probably the really interesting bit, is that reduced acid makes it harder to absorb certain nutrients. So
Yes.
B12, iron, zinc, which in turn reduces our ability to make more of that acid. Because the
Oh,
nutrients that
interesting.
we need to make our stomach acid, we're not absorbing, so we make less stomach acid. So
Is that, yeah,
it's that sort of cycle that you're creating. Yeah, and it's a big problem.
yeah. And the reason, I guess, for this conversation today with gut instinct, which we want to come on and talk about very briefly now, to your point, most people have got an issue with their stomach in some form or other, whether that's stress related, whether that's reflux and something more physical, whether they are craving food or bloated all the time or not having the bowel movements they used to have. And interesting, it's a midlife piece. Talk to me a little bit about it, because we're going to come on to talk about what's in gut instinct. But one of the conversations you and I've had, and it's a massive conversation, I know, within the nutritionists that you train as part of your role as an incredibly experienced practitioner yourself, we talk a lot about probiotics. And I think in the consumer domain, they've become the sort of catch-all for that. If you've got any problem with your stomach, take probiotics. And I know so many nutritionists actually caution against probiotics off the shelf in that kind of environment. Can you talk to me about what probiotics do and why they may not be as helpful to us in midlife as a prebiotic formulation such as Gut Instinct?
I think that the main point is that, they're not always the right solution, because you have loads of different strains, different products, different probiotics and different strains do different jobs. The quality varies, the quantity in the products varies, their stability varies. But I think in terms of a practical explanation is that if your gut is inflamed, you have things like SIBO or IBS, low stomach acid, which we've just been talking about, or constipation, the wrong probiotic could potentially make things so much worse. So it may trigger more bloating, more gas, more discomfort. And I always compare it to chucking petrol on your barbecue. You want to get your barbecue burning, you want it working a bit better, but the last thing you need is more power, and it's unpredictable. Your barbecue might explode. I mean, we're not going to say your guts can explode, but maybe.
Let's not go there.
I think we'll stop that right there. So,
and prebiotics work differently, because what is the difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic?
Yeah, I think the big difference is with probiotics, you should really talk to a practitioner. They're not a blanket fix. You shouldn't go out randomly buying. It feels like a bit of a public health announcement, but you just have to be careful. You have to make sure you're using the right thing for the right problem. With probiotics, they're actually the food that nourish the beneficial bacteria in our gut. So they're specific types of fibers. So you might have heard of things like inulin and resistant starch. So we can't digest that, but our microbes in our gut can.
Right.
And when those fibers reach the large intestine, our good bacteria ferment them, and they produce things like short chain fatty acids, and they help reduce inflammation. There's a lot about inflammation. They support the function of the gut lining. They support our immune system. I mean, they even influence our hormones and mood. There's a great long list of beneficial things associated with them. So probiotics add the actual bacteria.
Yeah.
Prebiotics help the bacteria we've already got.
Great. Okay, that makes absolute sense. Wonderful. And actually, that brings us very neatly on to Gut Instinct, because obviously artichoke leaf is in there as a bitters. But can you talk to us about Gut Instinct and why that as a prebiotic formulation works so well, and also why you also recommend it to your son?
I think it's got the 3 pillars that you need to create a really good prebiotic gut supportive formula. And for those reasons, I mean, I love the fact it's got bitters. So it's got artichoke in there, which will help stimulate your digestion. So stimulate your stomach to produce the right enzymes and acids and juices and lovely things you need to break down your food. They can help support your appetite, and they can even influence some of the hormones associated with appetite, such as ghrelin, which is the one that makes you feel hungry, but also GLP-1, which is everywhere at the moment. So it can really support the regulation of your appetite. So that's the first one. The second one is the demulcent herbs. So slippery elm, marshmallow. So they soothe the digestive tract, they coat it, they reduce irritation, supports the stomach lining, and may even help blood sugar support as well. And then it's ginger, which is a carminative, and that can help with gas and wind, bloating, cramps, and really just helps everything move gently through the digestive tract. So there's the 3 main ones, but I think the absolute star of the show, which I think makes Gut Instinct's such a great product is kiwi. So it's got some amazing research behind it in relation to its digestive properties. There are clinical trials where it's been used, and the enzyme that's in there has all kinds of superpowers. It can even help protein digestion.
Yeah.
But I think it's really just an all-rounder, and it's got actazine,
Hmm.
which is if you're going to have kiwi in your product, that's the extract you want. But it brings everything together in an antioxidant rich formula, those key ingredients that work on the bigger picture of digestive
Mm.
health. I think it's very easy if you've got a symptom to go for one remedy or one pill or one solution, whereas with Gut Instinct, it really is working on that bigger picture of digestive health, all the
Love
way
it.
from actually digesting your food to supporting the tissues where I suppose your food essentially travels along until it's processed.
Yes. Yeah, that's really helpful.
I mean, I think with something like Gut Instinct, it's sort of why would you not want to take it?
Thanks, Charlotte. That's really helpful. Thank you very much for answering so succinctly, as you always do.